get ready for a quick quest guide for the Curse of Arrav Quest, in which the main rewards for completing are access to Zemouregal's fort, 40,000 mining XP, 40,000 thieving XP, 40,000 agility XP, and 2 quest points. You'll need to have completed both the Defender of Varrock and the Troll Romance quest before taking on this one. And in terms of skills, you'll need to have 64 mining, 62 ranged, 62 thieving, 61 agility, 58 strength, and 37 slayer. Also know that 85 combat is officially recommended for this quest, which is predominantly for fighting the level 339 Arrav boss, as well as a much easier level 141 golem. While not required, having 43 prayer is also hugely helpful for access to protection prayers. When it comes to items, you'll need any pickaxe that you can use, any standard crossbow you can use, though ideally the best you have access to, for example a rune crossbow. You'll also need a Mith Grapple, a Ring of Life, some insulated boots that you'll want to have equipped, as well as 3 Dwellberries, which can be bought from the GE or from Heckle Funch at the southeastern corner of the first floor of the Grand Tree, or second floor for those in the US. Then when it comes to recommended items, there's a lot more that you'll need. This includes both armor and a weapon for the boss fights. I would suggest either going for a melee setup with a decent crush weapon, or alternatively a range setup. Both work, and generally I'd go with whichever your stats are best in. Also don't forget ammo if using ranged. Also know that Arrav is a bit weaker to crush than he is to ranged. Additionally, if you've completed the Haunted Mine quest, then a salve amulet will greatly help against the main boss in this quest too. But know that this will only boost your melee stats unless you've imbued it. Note that if you have a salve amulet but it's not imbued, then it's likely better to go with a melee setup. Know that if you're using melee, then you'll also want a ranged weapon switch. For this you can use your crossbow from before and just bring along some bolts for it. Also, to help with the fights, you'll want either one super combat potion if using melee, or a ranging or bastion potion if using ranged. You'll also want an anti-venom or extended anti-venom potion and around 4 prayer potions. Note that you'll only need one of these 4 prayer potions with you at the quest start, and that the rest can be banked. I'd also suggest having around 25 pieces of high healing food. Bring around 5 to 6 with you at the start of this quest, and then have the rest banked. Then having 2 stamina potions is great to help with all of the running around, as is having 1 filled water skin to help deal with the desert heat. Now let's talk about teleports. Provided you've completed a Fairytale Part 2, then you'll want 2 teleports to any fairy ring, for example Salve Graveyard teleports, as well as your Draman staff. And this includes 1 teleport for getting to the quest start. Without a Fairytale Part 2 completed, you'll want a fully charged Necklace of Passage instead. Then you'll want a charged Ring of Dueling, as well as either 1 Lumberyard teleport, or alternatively a charged Ring of the Elements or a charged Dig Site pendant. Finally, you'll want a method of getting to Trollheim. For example, 2 Lore and 2 Fire Runes to cast a Trollheim teleport, provided that you've completed the Edgar's Ruse quest. Note that you can circumvent the level 61 magic requirement if needed by using Scrolls of Redirection from the Nightmare Zone on House Teleport tablets to make Trollheim teleport tablets. Now if you don't have access to Trollheim teleports, then you'll instead want either a Gommel's Hilt 1 or higher, or alternatively some climbing boots and a method for getting to the Fremennik Slayer cave. Now there's a lot of options for this, and so I'll have them shown on screen alongside their requirements, although I won't individually go through each one. A reminder that if you're running from the cave, then you will need some climbing boots, and additionally if you're using fairy rings, then don't forget your Draman staff. Finally, you'll want to have 2 empty inventory spaces at the start of this quest. Now you can begin this quest at the Uzer Oasis within the desert. The easiest way to get here is to teleport to any fairy ring, for example by using a Salve Graveyard teleport and running northeast, before equipping your Draman staff and teleporting to the DLQ fairy ring code. Then from the desert run east and head into the Uzer Oasis where you'll find Elias White. Alternatively, without fairy rings, you can use a Necklace of Passage to teleport to the Eagle's Eyrie. tree, before running a decent way southeast to the User Oasis, heading to Elias inside it near to the shoreline. To start the quest, talk to Elias White, and following some chatter select yes to officially begin the Curse of Arrav Quest, before continuing through the rest of the dialogue. Following this, run a little west and then loop around and head southeast to the dungeon sign, which brings you to the entrance of the ruins we need to explore, and you'll want to enter into them. Once you're inside, head a little bit south and then continue southeast until you reach the end of the tunnel. On the ground will be some skeletons. Search the most southeastern skeleton to get a must-stubber key, and afterwards run northwest back to where you entered into the ruins. From here, run into the large eastern room, and inside of it you'll notice another skeleton along the northern wall. Search this skeleton to get a second mastaba key. Next, run southeast and then further south along the blue tiled floor, but don't go into the small indent east just yet. Along the northern wall of the indent is a trap. Right click on this trap and select to search the odd markings to try and pass it. Should you fail, just try again until you pass. And after reaching the small indent, pull the lever on the eastern wall before going through some text and selecting yes to pull it. Following this, search the odd markings along the wall again to try and pass it. Retrying if you fail until you pass. Once you're back on the blue tiles, run north along them, all the way to the most northern part of the room, and then along the eastern wall will be another indent with a trap. Just like you did before, right click on this trap and select to search the odd markings to try and pass it. Should you fail, just try again until you pass. And after reaching the small indent, pull the lever on the eastern wall, and after going through some text, select yes to pull it. Following this, search the odd markings along the wall again to try and pass it, retrying if you fail until you pass, and consider watching on ahead before fighting the upcoming mini-boss. Next, open the imposing doors to your west and then run a little further west through the tunnel. Nearby to the stairs down will be a level 141 Golem Guard, which is weak to crush and ranged. Pop on protect from melee and take a sip of your super combat potion if using melee, or ranging potion if using range, before attacking the golem. And you'll want to watch out for its one special attack. If the room starts shaking, then step away from the golem, who will then launch into 3 back-to-back strikes that can hit up to 30 damage each through prayer, so they can be rather deadly. Thankfully, it's an easy special to avoid, and after his 3 attacks are over, you can go back to attacking the golem with protect from melee activated. Before too long, you'll defeat the golem, and you can then climb down the stairs west, before slowly going a little further west until you come across a tile-covered floor, which has randomized tiles for everyone. The floor will have 4 different colors, being blue, green, yellow, and red, but you can consider the blue and green tiles as one color set, and the yellow and red tiles as a second color set. You need to make your way across by stepping on either only the blue and green tiles, or alternatively only the yellow and red tiles. So observe the puzzle and look for a path across that only uses either blue and green tiles, or which only uses yellow and red tiles before taking it to the other side. Note that once you've stepped on a color, you're locked in, and stepping on wrong colored tiles will see you take a decent chunk of damage. Also keep in mind that you need to walk to each tile individually, so you can't just sprint across. Also, you can't walk diagonally. Note that if needed, you can step on the wrong colored tiles. It just means that you'll take some damage and also swap over what your correct colors are. After you've made it to the other side of the puzzle floor, search for a lever along the wall just north of the stairs leading west, and pull this lever to disable the floor puzzle trap. Then head into the room to your west, and to the north of the room will be some shelves with some jars on them. Search these shelves to find an oil-filled canopic jar. Afterwards, run south for a little while and enter into the small room with a statue in the middle of it. Along the southern wall will be a mural. Inspect this mural and continue through the game message that pops up. Following this, use one of your 3 Dwellberries on the oil-filled canopic jar to place all 3 of them inside, and then use your Ring of Life on the canopic jar to place it inside as well. Now we need to report back to Elias. Note that to exit the dungeon quickly, you can just log out and then log back in to wind up out the front of it. And afterwards run a little northwest before looping back east and heading to Elias. Chat to Elias and go through the dialogue to learn that Zemouregal's been spotted at a fort north of Trollheim. And when chat options appear, just click off of the chat. It's now time to head to the path that runs northwest from Trollheim. Using a Trollheim teleport and running down the mountain northwest is by far the fastest way to get there. Alternatively, using a Gommel's Hilt 1 or higher to teleport to Trollheim before popping on Protect from ranged and running west is another great option. Without this, I apologize because the journey to this spot kind of sucks. And you'll want to start off by making your way to the Fremennik Slayer cave using your method of choice. And I'll pop up the options on screen now. After reaching the Slayer cave, head a tad north and then follow the path east until you see some rocks blocking the path. Then ensure that you're wearing your climbing boots and climb over the rocks before turning north and heading into the secret door. Once inside, run all the way north and a little east before climbing the staircase. And following this, go through the doorway west and climb another staircase. Now pop on Protect from melee if you have access to it before running a little bit south and leaving the stronghold through the exit along the eastern wall of the tunnel. Once outside, run east and then south to exit out of the stronghold before following the path north and a tiny bit east to reach the meetup point. After reaching the path that leads northwest from Trollheim, you'll want to follow it a little north and then a longer ways west, before turning and going a little bit north, whereby you'll come across the icy gate from Desert Treasure 1. West of it, a little bit up the mountain, will be a cave entrance. Enter into this cave entrance. Now pop on Protect from melee and run north, following the windy path as it coils around, and continue following it as it turns west. Once you come across a crevice, select to enter it to reach the top of Trollweiss Mountain. Then run east for a little while past some aggressive wolves until you come across another cave, before entering into it. Here we need to clear rubble to make our way through the cave system, which is done by mining the rubble rocks. However, these rubble rocks can only be mined from each of their sides once. Start by going a little northeast and choose to mine the rubble rock. Afterwards run south a little and then east, before mining the rubble rock blocking your path north. Once it's mined, continue northwest and mine the rubble rock from before, but this time from the eastern side. And once it's cleared, mine the rubble rock directly north to clear the path. Now run north and a little east and you'll come across a huge pile of rubble. No need to overthink this, just mine the crap out of it from every angle that you can. This will honestly take quite a while, and in order to get through you really do need to mine everything, but you'll eventually make your way through the huge pile to the other side. Next, take the southern path which will turn and go southeast, and when you reach more rocks, mine the rubble as much as you can from the western side before retracing your steps back northwest and north. Now go east and you'll see another huge chunk of mineable rubble rocks. You know the drill, just mine, and mine some more. Again, I wouldn't overthink it. It's less of a puzzle and more just a mine everything from every angle you can kind of vibe. It'll take a while, but eventually you'll get a clear path and be able to pass through it. Next, go directly south and when you see a few pieces of rubble, start mining them, clearing as much as you can from the north, which should open up the path. Next, follow the path east until you reach another huge pile of rubble, and then clear as much of it as you can from the southern side, which honestly isn't all that much. Afterwards, retrace your steps west and then north until you enter the larger open space near the large rubble pile. From here, go a tad east and then follow the path south until you reach the large pile of rubble you'd previously mined from the south. This time, mine as much of it as you can from the western side of it, and you should be able to clear a decent chunk of it. However, not quite enough to get through to the other side. Then retrace your steps back north before going a tad east and then back south, taking the final path. You'll now be back at the pile of rubble, and simply mine as much of it as you can from this northern side. This'll take a while, but eventually you'll completely unblock the pathway into the small terracotta tiled room. After reaching the room, climb up the staircase in it to end up inside Zemouregal's fort, right next to Arrav. Don't worry, this isn't the boss fight just yet. Simply talk to Arrav and go through the chat with him, after which he'll teleport away. Once he's gone, open the door to your east to enter into the room, and then along the southern wall will be a tapestry. Search the tapestry to obtain base plans and a base key. And after obtaining them, it's time to return to Elias White at the Oasis. For this, teleport to any fairy ring, for example by using a Salve Graveyard teleport and running northeast, before then equipping your Draman staff and teleporting to the DLQ fairy ring code. Then from the desert run east and head into the Uzer Oasis, whereby you'll find Elias White. Alternatively, without fairy rings, you can use a Necklace of Passage to teleport to the Eagle's Ire before running a decent way southeast, following the path on screen to Elias at the Uzer Oasis. After arriving, talk to Elias and go through the chat, which then leads into a cutscene detailing the traps within Zemouregal's base, and after the cutscene ends, continue through the rest of the chat, after which Elias will depart. Following this, use your Ring of Dueling to teleport to the Varrock's Enclave before running west a short ways and drinking from the Pool of Refreshment to restore your stats. And then it's time to use the bank chest just south. Here you can deposit your Rune Pickaxe, your empty water skin, and your Draman staff, as well as your climbing boots should you have them. Afterwards, ensure you have 3 full prayer potions, withdrawing as many as needed, as well as much extra food as you can bring. Also keep either your super combat potion or your ranging potion on you, depending on the combat style you're using. And ensure that you have your anti-venom potion on you too. Before continuing, also just double check that you're wearing your insulated boots, and that you have your Crossbow and Mith Grapple. Plus you'll need to keep the base key and the Canopic jar on you too. You'll also want 1 stamina potion, and to ensure you have your combat gear, being either a ranged setup if using ranged, or a melee setup with a crush weapon. Don't forget your ammo, and even if using melee, bring along some additional bolts to pair with your crossbow. Finally, for teleports, you'll simply need either 1 Lumberyard teleport, or alternatively a charged Ring of the Elements or a charged dig site pendant. Also bring along your charged Ring of Dueling, which is just for a post-quest teleport. Once you're all geared up, use your Lumberyard teleport scroll, or alternatively use your Ring of the Elements to teleport to the Earth Altar before running southeast to the gate, going through it before then running northeast to the dungeon sign that leads into Zemouregal's base. Note that you can also use a dig site pendant to teleport to the dig site before running north, and I'll pop up the travel path for that teleport option on screen now. After arriving, chat to Elias and then say, "Ready when you are," before going through the chat. Now pop on Protect from Melee and enter the trapdoor into the dungeon. As soon as you enter, run north and then turn and go west at the bend, opening the door after you reach it to go through. Then continue by going north a long ways until the path turns east, and open the door east to go through it. Then continue east a long ways, snaking around a bend north before continuing east, and open another door when you come across it. Once you're through, you can turn off Protect from Melee, and then continue running east before opening the gate to enter into the kitchen. Now make sure that you're wearing your insulated boots, and then squeeze through the pipe on the southern wall. After emerging, run around through the sewer, firstly by going southeast and further south, then west, and afterwards back north. And just to the east of the caged kilowatt will be another pipe that you'll want to squeeze through. After emerging, head directly south and enter into the southern room. Inside of it, search the most western table to obtain decoder strips. And once you have them, select to open the chest along the southern wall, which if successful will give you a code key. Now read the code key and note the 4-letter combination that it says, which will be different for everyone. If you don't have paper, you can just type it into chat. Once you've got your unique code, exit the room north, and then go a little further north until you see some big metal doors blocking the room to your east. Select to open the metal doors to bring up an interface. Begin by clicking on the number 1 strip, and then type the first letter of your unique 4-letter code before entering it. So for me that's B, but for you it'll likely be something else. Next, click on the number 2 strip, and then type the second letter of your unique 4-letter code before entering it. So for me that's E, but for you it'll likely be something else. Afterwards, click on the number 3 strip, and then type the third letter of your unique 4-letter code before entering it. So for me that's A, but for you it'll likely be something else. And then click on the number 4 strip, and afterwards type the 4th letter of your unique 4-letter code before entering it. So for me that's H, but for you it'll likely be something else. Following this, go to strip 1 and see which number is visible in the strip. So for me that's 1, but for you it'll likely be something different. Now pay attention to the arrow buttons. Firstly, use the up and down buttons to select the number that's visible in strip 1, and afterwards click the right arrow button to enter it into the code. Then repeat this for strips 2, 3, and 4. So for me I entered the numbers 3, 4, and finally 4 to complete my 4-digit code, but for you it'll very likely be something different. Provided all goes well, you'll unlatch and unlock the door. Now equip your crossbow and your Mith Grapple and then open the metal door to go through it. Next, select to grapple the overhead pipe, and this will see you hook yourself above the fire traps before making your way across them. Now before running east into the next room, know that you do not want to take from the pedestal just yet, as this will kickstart the boss fight. Head a little bit east, and I'd suggest watching on ahead so that you know exactly what to do for the upcoming fight, as it does have some unique mechanics. Once you're ready, ensure that your bolts or ranged ammo is equipped, as well as your weapon of choice. Then drink either your super combat potion if using melee, or your ranged or bastion potion if using ranged. And also drink your anti-venom potion. Now to start the boss fight, select to take from the pedestal, which kickstarts the cutscene whereby you're caught by Zemouregal. And once the cutscene ends, the fight against Arrav will begin. Immediately pop on protect from melee and a prayer to boost your combat style of choice, and then attack the boss in melee range. Don't bother trying to kite him if using ranged. While your prayer will block some of his hits, he can still sometimes hit through them, so be sure to eat as needed. Now Arrav has 2 special attacks, and the main one I want to talk about is the axe throw. Here Arrav winds up an axe throw, and after throwing it, it'll go through you before stopping, spinning for a short moment, and returning back to him like a boomerang. If you're hit by this, it'll deal around 20 to 30 damage each time it passes through you. However, you can turn this special's power back on Arrav. When he begins winding up his attack, simply move 1 tile to the side out of its path. Then as the axe misses you going away from Arrav, quickly remove your weapon and move back in between the axe and Arrav. When the axe returns, rather than hitting you for high damage, you'll catch it and slam it into Arrav, dealing high damage to him. It's honestly really fun and satisfying, but you have to be quick. If you're not confident with this, then you can always just dodge the axe throw and attack Arrav from another angle. The second special Arrav has are the venom zombies. Here he'll summon zombies that walk around the room, leaving a trail of venom on the ground that lasts for a hot minute. Use range to hit these zombies soon after they spawn, swapping to your range switch if you're using melee for this fight. If you range the zombies, then you'll always one-shot them, but this isn't the case for melee. Do this quickly to avoid them covering too much of the ground with venom puddles, as walking on these puddles will see you get hit with rapid venom damage, which is thankfully reduced due to your anti-venom potion. Now that's all there is to this fight, and while relatively simple, it's honestly one of my favorite quest bosses because of the axe throwing mechanic. Arrav has 600 health and decent defenses, so it might take a little while to defeat him, but before too long you should win. After the fight ends, you'll get another cutscene which sees Elias White teleport into the room and subdue Zemouregal and his minion while you grab the heart, before you both teleport out. After it ends, continue through the chat with Elias White, where you catch on that he's no ordinary man, and after going through the dialogue, bam, quest complete. You'll be awarded access to Zemouregal's fort, 40,000 mining XP, 40,000 thieving XP, 40,000 agility XP, and 2 quest points. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next quest.